happened was,
once they had a competition
to see the most traveled podcast, man.
Everyone was shocked to see the finalist was far on me. Sparrow went Nigeria, then he went to Spain. He went to Ethiopia, then he went back again. He went to Cincinnati, then he went to Ohio. But I was the favorite.
Wait.
I went to San Fernando Palace, to Honorico Rocio, then Monrico to Rio, Claro, Fumito, Gasparino, El Cicolo, Mondiablo, Togo, and my Arab brothers. I've been everywhere.
One little week or they'll kill me. Not the kind of song you stop, right? Take it easy.
I wasn't entering the show, but something say go Rio go. I know I only wasting time, but I only follow in my mind. But look, my passport don't even got a visa in it, but something telling me Rio you could win it. Them foreign judges so incompetent. Say where you went, man. Say where you went. I went to Calcutta, my point command, Mazalena, Canapena, Pagariga, Maturana, Nariva, and Palataria, Superia, Palandari, Man, Palmaria. I've been everywhere.
Welcome to episode 182, 3 or 4 of the Corey Shepherd podcast.
Now every time I walk the land,
Yes.
the people hailing, traveling man. From Caranage to Icarcus, well they just call me Columbus. But look, I travel like Tarzan, I travel by mine. I travel almost everything you find. The two exceptions that I could explain, and that is minus boat and aeroplane. I travel down like Chimbora's the photo pass. Double bus, omnibus, minibus, and maxi taxi. Trolley on one price, the donkey cart and motorcycle. I've been everywhere.
Ole wasn't here. Welcome, it's episode 183 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome to everybody who's been listening, and welcome to all the new people who've come on board. Ole going, long time I ain't see all you. Long time I ain't see ya. Give me a wine now. Here. I had to make a quick little runaway. I had to make a quick, and I'm actually up front, right? When we miss an episode, 2 episodes have any value to all in a week, because I find men take a whole week to listen to the. I'm starting to reach a point now where, unless I see 300 spins between YouTube and the podcast apps, unless I see 300 spins, I ain't feeling to record again, and I want to see numbers running up. So remember to like, share, and subscribe on all the things that you used to say, right? Keep in mind too that you can find this podcast on YouTube every week, but anywhere there is listen to pretty much anything. You could find episodes there too, right? All the Google Podcasts. Well, Google Podcasts had to make a move, right? All looking like all moving to YouTube. And the people who would listen on Apple Podcasts, all fine. But if you're on Google Podcasts, switch to Spotify. I hear don't take up no space on your phone and all these nice things. But tell me now, it have value in doing more than one episode in a week, all good. Let me know, you know. But we back in town. I had to take a quick little runaway, and I want to take a minute before we start to congratulate my little brother, Jonathan Corby. We went to his graduation in LA, La La Land. Let me tell you something. These places far. And you see that sort of long flying? I ain't know if I able to do long flying and all normal body carry cover. I want to tell you, this was nearly a 2-week break, a 2-week break from a 1-week trip, because I almost couldn't make it back. So salute to my guy, Jonathan, graduating with his master's. If you listen to the Bim, 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 bam, bam, ba-dam, bam, 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 ba-dam, ba. That's Jonathan Corby work. So, of course, any man graduates, I had to go and represent, right? And I also have it in mind that the last time I was supposed to go to his undergrad graduation, I stayed here like a doof and bust my Achilles and ended up having to do 2 years worth of surgery and downtime and all these different things. But if we had to judge from the little sweater take yesterday where I was to score a flying scissors kick to win the game, I think I'm back in the game. I think, salute to Dr. Sugi, I think my foot is healed. I'm good to go. Back in the game. So salute to my sister, salute to Janelle. We went over to LA for the weekend more or less. Tight little trip. And came back in. So I don't tell only about this LA trip, right? Because this is my first. No, I went to California before. I went to San Francisco. As the podcast, as Rio say, the traveling man, right? Being the most traveled podcast man, that comes with some inconveniences, like little missed episodes and so on. But I went over there and it was nice being in LA for the first time. Passing through LAX, I feel like as TMZ, I was waiting for some paparazzi to come and greet me and thing, but nobody came. Nobody came. I did try. And it was nice seeing where Johnny living and them things had been in the graduation. Only one thing they didn't want, how LA cold. My air condition unit is only go up to 17, right? Or go down to 17. This place never reach as high as 17. I get up in the morning, I say, you know what? As I order, let me see a little bit of the place. I'll go and take a little run walk in the morning. And boy, when I go on to take my run walk and 12 degrees start to hit me in my face, I end up in the closest Starbucks. Get something warm up in my paws. I get something. It was deadly, but I will tell you that the food was great in LA. I remember that being the case in San Francisco, right? If you ever make it to San Francisco, as my cousin by the name of Kelsey would tell me, when he found out I was going to San Francisco the last time, he say, every time you're hungry, just go into the closest restaurant and it will be the best food you ever had, right? I remember him telling me that, and he was absolutely right. San Francisco is some of the best for the foodie people now. I'm talking to all the foodie people for now. Go anywhere and eat whatever they recommend, and it will be some of the best food you ever had. And maybe I had to say the same about LA, because the first morning I was there, I get up and I walk. I think I was headed west. I hope it was west. And I just keep walking until I find some spots, you know what I mean? And I see a restaurant by the name of Millie's. Millie's nothing looking fancy about it, looking like typical American diner, but it's bacon and eggs and thing, how bad that could be. Well, I could tell you. Millie's is some of the best breakfast I ever had. Millie's was on point. We went to another Thai food place called Kinara. It was good. The food was really, really good. It's hard to complain about food in LA. The cold you could complain about, but not the food. But I had to tell Oli about one night we home. Because I had to tell these two people who are with, right? These two people I with want to Uber eat something. The first time I in LA, I come out, I want to go to Compton, the Kendrick song. And listen. You see them Kendrick, this is to Drake. We never stop hearing that on the radio at no point in time during that LA trip. If you feel, as a hip-hop person, right? If you feel like you're getting a sense of what the beef was like between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, you probably don't know what that is like till you get there. All the radio station playing is Kendrick. I'm talking about hip-hop station, contemporary. It don't matter what station it's in. The Kendrick that fits in that format coming on, and it's in heavy rotation almost every 5 minutes. So no wonder it's breaking records for the most streamed song ever and so on. So he having a hell of a time. We went to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. I guess people say in LA, the famous Roscoe's and Chicken Waffles, you had to go there. Most times I've heard people say, especially Yankees, right? When they tell you, you have to do this and you had to go to this place and it's some kind of chain, the food is be very, very, very average at best, right? I want to tell you, that's not the case with Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. When you're in the States and you like to, you know what I mean? I like to order the States food, right? Like, they're mac and cheese. We got macaroni pie, but them mac and cheese, they're cornbread. So I usually order them things, and there's nowhere else I have ever ordered food. Going out and eat and you order food and get mac and cheese. The thing tasting good. Everything they had was good, including the chicken and waffles, of course. And the waffles much better than I expected. Because you only remember I leave here with some dental problems, right? So I ain't too sure how much I could eat it. And I want to tell you that I still have any same dental problems. I still can't feel. If you see me dribbling and thing, work with me, right? I'm looking for grace. If you hear me slurring my words or you have a lisp or not reading properly, give me some grace this week. I still have a lot of oral issues, right? Pause. But one night we decided we're going out and eat, and I say, well, Google the best place now, just Yelp it, you know what I mean? Wherever you see good food. People say they're feeling, I say I'm feeling for Cuban, somebody say they're feeling for Mexican. Well, we find us what El Salvadorian spot, right? Now, when we drive to the place rating is about 4.5, rating looking good online and so on. So we say we're going across. When we reach in the car park, now the car park like Skid Row. If you see the car park The car park is a mess. And I'll tell you too, the homeless situation in LA is one, you had to see that. And I know I didn't see the worst of it. I talking about mainstream downtown Hollywood, if that's where it's called, down the Sunset Boulevard and Hollywood Boulevard and things. You're just seeing random corners where it have tents, people in tents, like that is home to them. But we park in this Skid Row car park, looking a little dodgy. I said, all right, this isn't looking so great. And what's all right, we do ratings high and thing. And my sister, she did say, listen, when the place looking like this, it's probably the best food you'll ever had. I said, all right, cool. When we pop open the door, you know the little thing you see in movies where the record go, and everybody look wrong? That is exactly what happened to me. We're the only black people in the restaurant. And everybody else is Spanish music, loud Spanish music and thing, but they kind of watch me and I start to feel uneasy one time. I want to go home to Trinidad. I want to come back home on a flight. I see something in right here. And we went in the place and all that, and it did turn out to be some of the best El Salvadorian food we ever had. But we get little glimpses. Every now and again, people watching over, I think they were trying to watch and are trying to figure out, well, what are they waiting for we to make the first move forward? Once again, when food done, my card ain't working, so I can't pay. Thank God, General Numbers, they settled the bill and all these things. And when we were leaving, I find it strange that when we were leaving, they had an armed security guard by the door. He wasn't there when we reached. I didn't see that guy when we reached at all, right? But I was talking to a cousin of mine, and he was saying, brother, he said, the gang culture and thing real in LA. He said when you're going to Spanish or Latino restaurants and thing, you have to be real careful about how you move because they're not accustomed seeing groups of blacks, you know what I mean? And I would think my little brother could pass for one of them, he red skin like them Spanish and them, you know what I mean? But apparently not. So they say when they see people like that, they will be worried about what is to come, you know what I mean? Because it's not just you as a threat to them there. But if you there and you have some kind of beef with somebody else, they don't want nobody coming there to find you on neutral territory. I was like, this is complicated. Why we had to do this? Why this little boy couldn't study somewhere safe? You know what I mean? And then on top of that, I tell him, well, he asked like what we was wearing. Of course, I like a buffoon and a big blue thing because cold. I have on my blue hoodie and my hoodie pull over my head, of course, because I cold. Me and know it's Trayvon Martin. Looking to Trayvon Martin, maybe become a brother and sister. I have on 2 jeans jacket as well. So apparently we go on there like 3 crips up in the spot. Looking for El Salvadorian food. But we had a great time. The service was good. Thank God Jonathan could talk Spanish too, and we didn't have to depend on on my Spanish certainly or ordering in English, because just like how we was wearing the wrong colors, I might have up and say the wrong thing and end up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and we could have be episode 182 could have been the last. But we're back. We're back here and we're glad to be back here, right? We went and do the tourist thing for a little while, and the tourist thing was nice, you know what I mean? And let me I giving you some assurances one time for the loyal listeners of the podcast. I'm not going anywhere again for a little while, despite what Rio say. But there's a lot of transitions happening in my life now. I will talk about them publicly when they're done made. So, as you know, I'm very consistent on a Tuesday morning, bright and early, right? And I know how it feels when, like Saturday morning, Joe Budden didn't release no podcast, and I was very, very upset. I don't like when that happened, but I'm going to maintain as much as of my consistency as I can over this little transition period. But I need feedback from all you. Tell me on the YouTube comments. When I miss an episode, will 2 episodes next week help? I know nothing they make up for the week they're gone. But all you really want to hear 2 episodes in a week, or that is overkill. Only tell me, right? But the tourist thing is done on our back here. But talking about touristing, right? They have an interesting trend that I'm looking at. This is not a local trend, right? It's very much a global trend where you're seeing people who are traveling vloggers and YouTubers and so on, going to different countries, and people generally like to see people travel. They don't like to see me travel if they ain't got an episode, but people like to see travel vlogging and that kind of thing. And there was one point in time where the travel vlogging, the ones who used to get the highest set of views is people who do reviews of popular destinations and vacation places or off the beaten path places, but they would show you the best of the place and how the place look, and when they, they're living their best life and they do that. Then I saw a trend where people were actually vlogging about the travel experience. You would see Casey Neistat and these fellas go and they talk about planes and who are the best first class and who are the worst economy class and traveling by train. All these things worked, right? And coming off the heels, I'm a guy who was walking from Toko to, was it Galeota? I seeing more and more of them coming here now. And a big part of the trend today is to go to countries and show the worst situations in the country, whether it be poverty or crime or whatever is the worst situation, corruption. Now those things sell because as I do research for podcasts, the most popular format of podcasting is true crime podcasts, where people talk about true crimes and interview people about it and tell the backstory and try to find families of the victim or get the person from jail and do interviews. Them podcasts ahead of all other podcasts by far, right? So crime and things people into. And it have more following more and more how we approach, because I was making the point the other week that my boy making his trek from Toko to Galeota, but we have a man right here, I spoke about him by the name of Mark Hippolyte, who went up, it was Aripo Heights or Aripero. He gone up there 100 times for the year, 100 plus times for the year. And he himself just recently did a walk. He crisscrossed Trinidad from the next direction. I think he went from, was it Guaya or Icacos or one of them, all the way to Chaguaramas. And what it took my guy a week and some change to do, he doing basically 24 hours. Salute to Mark Hippolyte, right? He's a legend. Follow him on Facebook because this guy does this all the time. This might be his full-time job. I hope, the kind of views you could get as a foreigner coming here to do something pales in comparison to get to the kind of views you could get as a local person doing them same types of things. And it's so funny that I spoke about him in the trek up the mountain 100 times. And he decided to kind of answer back the thing. And he didn't say anything like this, right? But I saying it where you could do them things as a person from here. And I wonder how much people will stop to help you and stop to give you money or stop to give you food and stop to help you document your journey or the hunters and rescue people. But with Mark, they didn't have the time. Mark finishing that day. By the time they catch Mark taking a bait up Tetron, you know what I mean? So that was impressive. But these vloggers who come in here seem to be getting a lot of traction online. And Trinidadians at home and abroad, I guess people want to see the quote-unquote real situation or the real Trinidad. And the latest one in this is somebody who refers to himself as Christmas List, right? And has a lot of viewers on his YouTube channel. I believe is just at about 1 million subscribers. So you understand where the views coming from, right? But what I'm more concerned with is the local buy-in that you would typically get from people who come from abroad. And I stopping just short of saying white people who come from abroad, right? I stopping just short of saying that because I'm not sure if it's just because the people white or maybe they are just very, very popular YouTubers who this generation want to see them anyway. And they would want to latch onto that. And when you have 1 million plus subscribers, I don't want to knock the hunters and rescue people because they're doing a great job. But any organization would want to align themselves or get close to somebody who have a lot of views. Like, it might make sense for me to... I try to figure out how to up my subscribers and my listeners, right? It might make sense for me to go and meet the fellas somewhere in Toko and do a quick walk-in podcast with them, you know what I mean? That might up my subscribers. My fear with things like that is that I don't like the tactics that will get me real plenty views in 1 week and then none of them people are interested and come back and see one thing when the next week comes. So he this new one new to me, Christmas List, Chris being like Chris and must be an MUST list, is in Trinidad now, and he is going to areas in Trinidad and Tobago that if I was to hazard a guess, I would think that me and you can't go or wouldn't go, right? He's done this in places in the States before, like he's gone to the most dangerous places in Atlanta, the most dangerous hood in Port-au-Prince, and that big voodoo as the title of that. He went to the same Skid Row I was talking about in LA. He went there and he interviewed people and all those things. And so I don't want to take away anything from the work he's done and the investment he's made in himself to get there and the credibility he's gained as well. Because when he say he going to Gary, Indiana's most dangerous hood, he going there filming people with guns and talking and asking them genuine questions about Why they doing this? Why the gang culture so strong there and so on? And those are questions I think that me and you might have, right? When we living in Trinidad and Tobago here, where the average person is not coming into contact with no 6, no 7, no 8, no 9, no alien. No, the average person here don't even know what none of these things is, right? So somebody like Christmas coming here and getting some kind of response from the people who are involved in this as to why they're involved in this and why they're doing it might shed light for me and you so we could start to understand it. And maybe even with the influence that people who listen to this podcast have, maybe even see how we could do something about it through the schools, through the church or whatever institutions we involved in, how we could do something about it. My thing is always to try to figure out, like, I wonder if we could, like, if I could go and do that. You know what I mean? Salute to Ryan Ramchandani, right? Who tell me to call his full name. But he always used to tell me about these ideas similar to this, to go out and interview and talk to people. And judging from this thing with Christmas list, I'm not sure that at my age and stage in life I'm willing to put my life at risk to go in some areas to do certain things, because as a man who wants to continue to live in Trinidad, for instance, if Christmas say or do the wrong thing or offend the wrong person, it's easy for him to get a plane ticket and go back where he come from. And he and his family and everybody not under threat, right? But if I doing that every day and my face on YouTube next to the faces of people who would be, they may be wanted by the police, or they may be police, you know what I mean? I'm not sure that is something that willing to put myself on the line for. It take me 50 something episodes before I could just go on camera and show my face, so much less to do it in this way. But Christmas is here, and check out his YouTube channel again, Christmas List, Chris MUST List, and he has about 15-20 videos. They're a little long, right? But if you can listen to this podcast, you can listen to him. His average video is an hour and a half still, and he's talking to youths in these areas about why they're joining gangs, why they're defending the turf. It's a little bit shocking for me, right? Again, as an outsider to this culture of Trinidad and all that. I don't know that you have youths up in Gonzales and different parts of Belmont. I know about the idea of borderline, right? Where Belmont split into certain factions. So Bella Road can go Gonzales and Gonzales can go St. Babs, and all these different things is real, right? This is what we know. But what I don't know is it's have men on patrol. And the one I watched today was one from Rifle Hill. These young fellas, young. When I say young, all the potential in the world is yours. And the world that they choose is to walk around with rifles protecting Rifle Hill. To talk about why them is a part of 6 and 8 and them do deal with 7 and alien can come over here. And a whole new language, I encourage you to go and see it. I will say as well, for those of you who are not interested in that at all, he also covered things like a walk for peace. He been in Point Fortin, Borough Day. He went and do some crab and dumpling. I believe he do a bacon shark thing in Maracas. He had Dane Gulston on talking about Trinidad's top pan side. So credit to him that he's not here necessarily to glorify or to just shed light on the bad parts of the place. And even when he in some of the quote-unquote bad parts of the place, he's still encouraging people. He say, listen, when you're a tourist and you come here, you're never going to see these areas, you're never going to interact, you're going to be safe in Trinidad and Tobago, and you're going to do fine, and you're going to be okay. And credit to him for doing that and taking the time to do that. And he also seems like a guy who's genuinely curious, which I think any good journalist has to. You had to have that quality to be a good journalist and to put together stories that are compelling and interesting to people. So let me just read from the Newsday, who's covering him here, right? It said, vlogging gang culture in Trinidad and Tobago, glorification or reality. This is from Marissa Fraser in Newsday. There's been an increasing trend of vloggers on YouTubers visiting Trinidad and Tobago to showcase gang culture and violence. Typically, they visit areas deemed crime hotspots, saying their intent is to show the good despite the negative reputation. However, more recently, these videos have caught the attention of the police as civilians have openly been bearing firearms, saying that they are in gangs and discussing their involvement in ongoing wars, including basically saying that if them fellas from over so come over here, we lighten them up, we sending them home. Men saying that openly. Most of them masked up and thing, right? The public has been generally divided on the issue. Some think vloggers are using or taking advantage of people of a lower socioeconomic class for likes and views, while others support them, saying that they are showing that there's more to these areas of violence, as well as showcasing reality. Before I read forward, right? Admittedly, of the 15, 16, 17 videos, I watched one. I watched one in Belmont. And I don't think, not his fault, but I don't think that despite how much times he asked about the community and where's he good, there was not much presented that could tell you, okay, what is the good that come out of Belmont? There's not even when he talked to some of the elders in society, in the community, a lot of them didn't want to be on camera and so on. You're not hearing people talking in depth about the history of Belmont or David Rudder and his involvement with the Belmont song. You're not hearing much of that in terms of how much of a cultural hub Belmont is. Most of what you're hearing is 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, and if 8 come across 6 and 9, 5, and I'm trying to figure out if you ask one of them 9 minus 8, they might know. But they're going on and on about this gang culture. And when he put the direct question to these youths as to, okay, what is the genesis of this and why it's continuing? These youths who are rifles in their hands struggling to answer that question, which that is not uncommon when you discuss. And I don't want to use Johnny Bravo in the video. You know Johnny Bravo, right? A security guy. He say he wants to call them movements and not gangs. I think that's positive. But when you look at violent gangs anywhere and you see people interview them, you typically get this thing where the youngest people in the gang, they don't know the history of the gang. They don't know why it was a gang. They don't know what they're protecting. Because when I hear them say, well, we're protecting with turf, and I look at this turf, I try to figure out what is this turf offering. I saw somebody in the comments say, why did they just come out and say it's drug wars they're fighting and it's territory they're fighting for? I don't know. I'm not brave enough to say that either. But he says, so far, for 2024, YouTubers Shy, Coco Boy, Neumark, Tim Carter, and Christmas List have visited Trinidad and Tobago and done these videos, which have racked up millions of views. Each of them also did several non-gag related videos while here, which did not get as many views. I'll give you an example, right? When I go back to Christmas List, his video on Trinidad's deadliest gang war, A Day Inside with the Gunmen of Belmont, has 248,000 views, right? And the one just before that, Port of Spain Peace Walk, A Mother's Cry, demands end to gang violence, has 48,000 views. His visit to Borode has 129,000 views. And the latest one he posted yesterday with Ultimate Silpan Battle, Desperados versus Renegades versus All Stars in Trinidad, has 25,000 views, right? So just to put that in perspective. A similar video was done in 2014 by international media outlet Vice News, which now has over 9 million views. It's titled Corruption, Cocaine, and Murder in Trinidad. Vloggers defend their content. Carter's video, titled Deep into the Caribbean's Deadliest Hood, has had over 1.8 million views. He documented a visit to Laventil where many locals in downtown Port of Spain urged him not to go. Residents of the communities told him while there's a negative stigma about both areas, they are guided by peace and love. Among the people he spoke to was Trinidad artist Kashif Cayman 6 Sanka. A man featuring in the video called El Chapo told Carter, although many call Six a gang, it is just a Trinidad music movement. However, he added that those on the 7th side have issues with people from his area. He also showed Carter one of his guns, which he said he's had for protection. That's what all of them say. All of them say that they have the guns for protection and they have the guns for defense. But the defense they're talking about is rifles with 7.62 caliber bullets. You can Google that, right? So this again is a trend. I want to say that like titling the video. I am terrible at titling videos, right? With YouTube, titling videos matters, and if you title the video with something controversial, it's just like headlines back in the day, right? If I put a controversial headline with a controversial picture, the algorithm tends to show it or suggest it to more people, right? So people could come across it rather than the people who might come on directly looking for the podcast or listening to it every week. YouTube will suggest it to more people. But I in it for the long haul, right? On episode 182 of 10,000. So the fast growth, I don't know if that's the best route for me. I don't want to put controversial things out there. I also have a day job, you know what I mean? I have jobs. I have to be careful about what I say here. This is not my main job yet. So when you get a chance, right, go and check out Christmas list. And I would suggest that you do this whether you're inclined to the Trinidad movement or check it out just to see what is happening in your country, where a local blogger or vlogger or news reporter or anybody might not have been able to get the kind of access that this guy got, or be willing to take the kind of chances that this guy got to walk through some of these areas and so on. But it's important that we know, because like me, it's clear that my head buried deeper in the sand than I thought. And these youths taking this thing seriously. Where I looking for place to live in gated community where I could safeguard myself a little bit. And all the man by the gate, all he's doing is say, "Hi, good afternoon, sir. All right, have a good day." The man by the gate and doing a damn thing to secure where I live in. Whereas these men walking around with 24-hour rifle patrol just in case. And they're showing you a step where they say up to here we could go, but we can't go past that step, and them can't come past this step. And I wonder if this is the same Belmont and the same Bella Road and the same Valley Road and thing that I know from small. You're wondering if these is the same areas, you know. When I was small, going up in Laventille or going Mova and thing wasn't as frightening. Or was I just naive? Was I just did I have the bravery of youth or the valor of being young? I don't know. But the places are different places. I remember seeing that one time in Jamaica. I had to drop a partner back to Allman Town. And he kind of tell me, slow down. Because we're driving back from the club and I'm driving going. He said, slow down, Corey, slow down. He said, let them see it's me in the car. And when you see it, it's men at their rifle and thing, and they're looking down in the car, and he just hail out everybody. And when I had to drop this man off, I said, when you're not in the car, how are you coming out in here? He said, nah, just make sure you pass back the same place you passed to come in. Don't make no sudden stop. Don't make no sudden turn. I was like, and I thinking, what kind of society is this? You know what I mean? What kind of world we really living in? But taking this so you could see what kind of Trinidad and Tobago we're really living in. And you might start to understand if this is the mentality or the attitude of a lot of these youths here, who again I see as having a world of potential, all the potential in the world these youths have. If that's their attitude and the way they see in life, you're starting to understand why you have a murder every day, and on a long weekend like the weekend that coming up, you're starting to see 7 and 8 people and big figures where murder is concerned. But salute to Christmas, salute to all the vloggers who are willing to come here and do the work. I will say, however, that with all the upcoming and ongoing podcasts that I see, all the vloggers that I see, I find, and I was giving them credit for this the other day, where I saw Certified Samson and so on being featured in the mainstream media, the Newsday, Guardian, Express, and so on. But I find, like, you know, sometimes we treat foreigners, roll out this red carpet to foreigners. I wonder how much local vloggers and so on. I wonder if Mark Hippolyte could get the kind of coverage for walking the country in 24 hours that my German guy could get for walking across the country in about a week, you know. And I ain't just talking about coverage like going viral online. I'm talking about like the media picking them up, and we as individuals actually learning who they are, reading their stories and understanding about them and so on. I find like we don't give our own people the kind of coverage that we're willing to give foreigners. But maybe it's just a little bit of an island thing, right? Where we going from here? Only want to talk about Diddy and Cassie. People don't like when I spend too much time on the foreign news, but I believe that Diddy, what did he mean to Trinidadians, right? Through his many ventures, right? First, through coming up with hip hop with as early as Craig Mack and Biggie Smalls, the work he do with Mary J. Blige. Plenty of Diddy hits was Trinidadian hits too. I shouldn't say hits, right? It was very, very Trinidadian. And then when he do things like making the band or his appearances in media, I could safely say that Diddy was a person who was loved across the board by Trinis, you know what I mean? Diddy's a loved kind of personality. All the bravado and anything, rich billionaire status as a business person and so on. You know, it's something else to see. And having seen that video, I'm not sure how many people were caught completely off guard by that video with Cassie. In case you don't know, I don't know where you've been, you must have traveled like me, but a video that came out on CNN with Diddy brutally beaten his longtime girlfriend Cassie, and dragging her through a hotel hall room. It was hard to see. It was hard to stomach. You know what I mean? As a man, much less I could imagine how women feel seeing that kind of thing, or anybody who triggered by this trigger warning right after the fact, right? But it was bad. It was bad. It's not something you're expecting to see at all, much less from somebody who. Let me talk for myself. Like I admire Diddy. That's somebody. His drive and so on in business is something I always look at and it's like, okay, this is what we aspire to. This is what we want to get to. Doing big deals, doing big things, becoming a sort of beacon for society and an inspiration to others. Everything you do, reinventing yourself so much times. Like many, many times I've compared in my mind. I don't know if anybody else make this comparison, but I always compare Hoppy, radio station Hoppy or DJ Hoppy. You don't even know what to call him, right? Just Hoppy, right? I always compare Hoppy to Diddy in my mind a lot because Hoppy is that kind of fellow too. I remember Hoppy from teenage days, throwing parties and them kind of thing. All the way now to owning his own radio station and Salute to Scorch. And yeah, maybe it's because he looked to, you know what I mean? But yeah, Hoppy down as this local Diddy. And I admire Hoppy, I look up to him and I watch how he do business over the years. And he ended up in several different areas of entertainment. And there are people who, when he was a DJ and now going on to radio, there are people who were on radio with him who's still on radio. No knock on that, right? But he has evolved so much and done so many different things that he's owned a public radio station now. I don't think it will be his last station either. And he had owned different versions of radio stations as well. And like he had done a corporate radio, so sometimes you might go in a place like Superfarm and you hear music coming through. He had owned a subscription service for that for corporate, so they could basically pay a subscription service every month, and he will make sure they have music in their stores that fit their image, their brand image, and so on. Genius little businesses, you know what I mean, doing a lot. And I don't think Scorch will be the last. I'm waiting for him to do. People ask me like, why do go on radio, right? When Hoppy do talk radio, I'm going to apply. I'm going to apply. If you give me the morning show, I'll take it. I can't do that. Give me first thing in the morning and I'm on, right? But yeah, just like seeing people like that who you admire so much do something like this it feels disappointing at first, And when I look at, for instance, I would watch Breakfast Club over the years. I would watch Joe Budden podcast over the years. I watch State of the Culture on Revolt TV. I watch there was another one with Joe Budden and Academics. Hip hop TV and that kind of thing. I watch Sway in the morning, all these interview shows. You tend to find that everybody around the hip hop circuit and around Diddy used to talk about Diddy throwing these parties, and Diddy is the best party thrower and all them kind of things. And many times you hear the parties being referred to as freak offs, right? And sound good to me. So, freak off like that, you know what I mean? But when you saw Cassie earlier this year or late last year sue him, and he settled pretty quickly for figures that in the tens of millions of dollars. If you had got a chance and you read that, I personally don't feel anybody could make that up. And I also felt disappointed. You look at the other people in the space, in the entertainment space, like all you know him. You feel like all you know him and all you have him in this, none of you would not say nothing, all you don't know this was happening. But all of them down to the Charlemagne, everybody came out and condemned Diddy. Everybody also said that they had no idea this was happening and stuff. I find that a little hard to believe. But I suppose if you hear rumors about people, you can't really go down with the rumors. They certainly can't report on the rumors, right? That could land any one of those broadcasters in serious problems if they cast aspersions on them. But I feel a little betrayed by the media. Like, all they couldn't give you an idea that, okay, this might not be the great guy that's all they think he is and so on. And even as we talk, I hear Jason Lee and more people saying they have more videos and more things to come out. So, I mean, outside of the disappointment, disappointment is the best word I could come up with. It's like, this is how you live it. And sometimes maybe it's naive, but you're looking at people who I see it as they having everything. All the success, all the money, all the control, all the discipline to achieve the things that they achieve, And you could get any woman in the world, like, and this is your behavior. It's crazy to me when you think about it. But I suppose, as they say, like power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I mean, my heart reached out to Cassie. There are no amount of tens of millions of dollars or any amount of money that could possibly compensates her for what she went through. Because what's funny, not funny, but what was interesting is that exactly what happened in that hotel is what we saw on the she had a what you call it, a deposition or in the lawsuit, right? If you get a chance to read the highlights of the lawsuit, she spoke about this hotel incident in that lawsuit. And exactly what she says is exactly what happened. She think and she tried to run away and he come down the holding in a towel and he beat her and he thing and going back and he paid $50,000 to the hotel for them to give up the video. I was wondering like if the hotel not liable for that too. Like how is the hotel a big hotel brand? He ain't staying in no double palm, right? He's staying somewhere as a reputable brand. But I understand from one of the reports that it's not necessarily the hotel he paying for it, it's the person, like the security person or the person who operates in the camera. And 50, there will be a figure that could cloud your morality. Like I wanted to tell you that if I see something like that, it's a no amount of money you could give me to delete that tape. But I would be a damn liar if I say that, you know what I mean? I just want to be honest here. We will get to a figure eventually. When I see that figure, all my debts could be paid. Sorry, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here. Right? But I do feel for Cassie. I mean, she's married and it seems as though her husband has been sort of standing by her side and encouraging her and walking her through this process. So salute to him because, I mean, with all that he sees and he knows he's a good one to help her to fight the battle and get the strength to do it. And as she has done it now, many, many more people will continue to come forward. Reminds me of the whole R. Kelly thing. I saw Diddy apology. I don't know how all they feel about that apology, but Diddy is clearly a person who has not apologized much in his life. He must be apologized for a long time. He looked like the kind of person, if you offend him, you're fired. And he will replace people and put people in his circle who he know don't challenge him or he don't have to apologize. That looked like somebody who ain't apologized in a long time. It looked bad. All of it was bad, and it's still up there. That's the thing. So he don't seem to be somebody who listening to his PR team or his handlers or any, because everybody would be advising him not to post that. Everybody would be advising him to take all that down. It working against you, but it's clear that, as I say, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that fella mind corrupted, and he is showing in more than just the video. It's showing in his handling of this. He still think that he is $50,000 away from a resolution to this, or $30 million away from a resolution to this. But buddy, that is pretty much the end of you. Is the end of you in my mind? I always come here and talk about cancel culture, and I don't like the idea of cancel culture, to be honest. I always feel like my sister Stacy, they always pointing out to me, sometimes subtly and not subtly, when we're talking about this situation with Diddy. They say, but yeah, you just listen to Joe Budden every week, and Joe Budden is a wife beater. As a matter of fact, I was looking forward to Joe Budden take on this whole situation, and I listen to Charlemagne every week, and Charlemagne have I think a rape accusation or something like that was settled out of court. So I say, you listening to these fellas, but you waiting to hear abuser talk about abuser. And my take on it is, Joe Budden is a lot of things. Entertaining is probably number one on the list, but he's a lot of things. Like when you hear these stories about him and women, it's not pretty, right? But as the whole cancel culture thing, not really in me, because I wonder now. Okay, if somebody did that, let me say a person, let me say me, you beat up a girl, or you had a history of beating up women, and you reach a point now where you find yourself, not the kind of therapy that Diddy talking about. You find yourself and you work on yourself, and that's not something you do anymore. It's like an alcoholic who recover. An alcoholic who recover will always tell you he's a recovering addict. Is it that somebody who was an abuser could say, I'm a recovering abuser, and get grace from people if they change their ways? Or is it that you're condemned for life regardless of what you do in later on in life, you know what I mean? Is it that is a wrap? It's over for you? And the truth is that this generation, it seems to be the former. It seems like if it's over for you, nobody don't want to hear from you again. Nobody don't want to hear your excuses. Nobody don't want to hear your recovery part. Somebody told me recently, I just want Diddy to lose everything he has. I just want him to lose everything. I want Cassie to be safe. Well, she seems as though she's safe now. I want her to be safe. I don't want no woman to go through this. But at the same time, I also want abusers to get the healing and the help that they need and genuinely become better people. I want to live in a utopia where nobody don't feel to abuse nobody, but utopia that is, right? And listen, let me tell you a little something to one time, right? Before I move on from this, sorry, yeah? Before I move on from this, let me talk to the ladies for a minute, right? The women who have been through this before, and I mean, with all due respect, you alone know what you went through and how you come out of that, right? But one of the things that gets bandied about every time this comes to the top of the surface is that fellas, all you need to check all your partners. And I want to explain something to all you, because this has come up all the time, and I have been friends with people who I don't want to use the word abusers, but they got into physical altercations with women already, right? And it is not. I'm not sure what you all think of I should do in a situation like that. If I or I don't know what you all think I will do. I'm not sure why you all think that I wouldn't talk. I have a partner who beats any woman. Most men, 99% of men, right? If your partner beats any woman or ever hits a woman, you're going to check your partner. You know? I don't know why you all think that nobody says anything. I am not going to come out in the public and like that person say, make them lose everything. I wouldn't do that. But I will go to them and say, hey, what's going on with you? Cool that. Don't do that. If I am in this situation where you can't hit no one in front of me, I come in between there and separate that and thing. But I want you to appreciate something. Somebody who hell-bent on being an abuser and have no intention to change their ways, at least at this phase in their life, whether due to alcohol or substance abuse or whatever the thing is, them not going to stay around the men who telling them something for long. But if it has somebody in your ears right through, boy, don't do this, they will separate themselves. The reverse is also true. If I around somebody who is a perennial abuser, he intends to change you. Why I staying friends with you for long? I will distance myself too. I want to let her appreciate as well that man and woman business is a funny thing, because I could intervene there in the worst of ways, all right? Physically too, and go and fight the man. And then only get back together and think, and I am the wrong end of that stick. After that, I done all that. You know, I know there are many, many reasons why people will not leave or get back together. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying that I, as a person, I can't stay around that for a long time. And you know, sometimes it takes people who come out the next side of this to talk to this so we could understand some of what we're talking about here, right? And maybe that's something I'll do. Because if we sit and talk to somebody like Cassie, we might find some compassion, because a lot of the comments is, but she was apartheid and why she didn't leave. That's not so simple. People talk about Stockholm Syndrome, all them nice theoretical thing, nice, you know. But one thing I know about theory, I study business, and I can tell you, everything I study in business don't prepare you for when you're in a meeting. And that meeting, if that meeting don't go well, you could struggle to pay your next mortgage. When your foot shaking under that table and your belly hurting, that's how business school could prepare you for that. So you see all that theory about Stockholm Syndrome and thing, that's important. But nobody can know what it is like for a woman in a situation home other than that woman. So in other words, whatever she say, I giving grace and I accepting what she say for what it is. It's something that we had to do better at, you know, because I don't understand what's the purpose of challenging Cassie and all that. The other thing I would want to say is that we have to get, I always remember Dave Chappelle talking about this, right? Dave Chappelle said at the end of apartheid, it should have been a bloodbath. He said when apartheid ended, by all accounts, it should be a bloodbath. Black people should have run into white people and eliminate as much of them as possible, right? And he said the reason it wasn't a bloodbath was because of the great Nelson Mandela. And Mandela was able, after being jailed wrongfully for so much years, lost all the youthful life, right? Imagine that. Imagine when you come out of there, you're supposed to nobody can wrong you if you come out with vengeance, right? And if you watch any or read any documentary, listen to his book, you watch Invictus or any show, you would see that the white people who would have perpetrated the worst atrocities on black people was frightened when they say Mandela, and plenty of them flee. But Mandela came out immediately and said, hey, hold on. We're not going to do anything to them. We want to understand them. We want to learn them. A big part of the Invictus show was him getting the Springboks, the rugby team, and showing support for them. When the black Africans were interested more in soccer, football, he say, no, let me go and support what they support. And he put on the Springbok hat, which a lot of people said was a symbol of oppression. But he embraced it. A part of Mandela's genius and embracing that is that he understood that to change a system, you must understand not only the abused, but you must understand the abuser. You can't create a situation where the abuser consistently chided, jailed, hanged, whatever it might be, And you never get a few, because there are reformed abusers, right? They have reformed abusers of substances. They have reformed abusers of people. The reform is real. If you could get to sit down with people who reformed and understand, okay, what drive you to do this? What was your state? Then we could put situations or solutions in place to create a world where we have less people who are abusers and more people who willing to walk away if there's any sign of abuse. The system is what need changing. And I forget Cassie and them for a while, right? Talking about Trinidad and Tobago, where domestic abuse and violence is prevalent here. I mean, it's prevalent. I was tempted to come here and play several soca and kaiso songs that openly talk about beating women and things. But I say, you know what I mean? That would be nice. Because some of them is very nice songs, you know what I mean? Some of them are good song. And I don't want anybody hating the good song we have, right? But it's very much a part of our culture. And I feel as if we had to do better collectively at not just like not believing the person who in the abusive situation and say, well, you stay and you look for that. Or as much as the person who is doing the abuse, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be punished or they shouldn't be brought to reprimand or whatever is the term you want to use, but at some point we had to understand them. We had to do some studies and understand what leads you to be there. And unfortunately, if at least in the theory, when you look at the white papers, most of the people who abuse people have been abused, right? So we could move on from that. We could go to happier days. Can we get to happier days? You know what I mean? Well, you miss me. Come back, you know. And I come back in the heaviest set of topics I ever see. As soon as I line up these, I know there's one in particular that very heavy for me. I was talking about Hoppy being on radio stations back in the day. Only to come and see big headline: Chinese laundry's account seized over $34 million BIR debt. They're Asher Javid, right? Asher Javid, if you don't know, it is a business. When it comes to business reporting, there's two big names in this country, right? You see Asher Javid and Joel Julian. Hard to beat when it comes to business reporting, right? So when Asher and them talk, you have to take that serious. Asher and them not joking when they talk or they do investigations, right? Those people is dot their I's and cross their T's. So from Asher Javid, lead editor of investigations, the accounts of Trinidad and Tobago Radio Network, the parent company of radio stations 96.1 WFM, Star 94.7, and 107.7 FM, or Music for Life, owned by Anthony Chinese Laundry Chowlinon, have been garnished by the state. Now, first and foremost, right? Remember I was telling you YouTube? YouTube headings designed to create a little controversy and draw you in. And if you create controversial headlines, you tend to find that you will get more views. Guys, it's an art to creating those headlines, right? This headline is a little bit controversial compared to what is said in it, because I don't think seizing the accounts and garnishing the accounts is the same thing. Maybe I'm wrong about that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna argue with Asher Javid. They're gonna know much more than me on this topic. But the word season and the word garnishing is two different things. As far as I know, the procedure is that if you have plenty taxes outstanding, the BIR can garnish your account directly from the bank, so they could basically say, all right, well, this is going to come out of your account every month before you could do anything else, which is dangerous territory for a business, because that means it could potentially cripple your operation, right? But let me get to it. I know the loyal listeners are here to see how I will spin this into a defense of the 1%, and I want to assure you that I will. I shall. But this is a defense of the 1%. But Guardian Media understands that Chowlinon owes $34 million to the Board of Inland Revenue for unpaid taxes. However, that sum is exclusive of interest on the debt for the period 2015 to 2024. That's 9 years. According to the BIR letter, the accounts were seized on April 25th. At a meeting called with staff on Wednesday, Chowlinon said he was hoping to have the matter resolved by way of a payment plan to the state by the end of the month. He said the station's business model was adversely affected by COVID pandemic and has not sufficiently recovered. This was further compounded by the failure of advertising agencies to pay sums owed to the stations on time. Guardian Media was told that staff of over 80 employees have been asked to take pay cuts to continue the business until the matter can be resolved. Chowlinon did not return calls or messages on him. All right, so let me talk about that pay cut pass first, right? Because that seems to be one of the more egregious. Let me start my defense here. One of the more things that people are very, very upset about. The issue there is not so much that you don't want to ask no staff to take no pay cuts for any reason. It's dangerous to the longevity of your business. And businesses like that, them thing going to be 96.1 or TTRN going to be around forever. This is a speed bump, right? But the issue is this. 34, let me do some quick maths here. It's not the greatest mathematician they ever had, right? But $34 million divided by 9 years is about let me call that $4 million a year in taxes outstanding, right? Tax is 30% of your profit. So if you're paying $4 million a year in tax, I'm just assuming that he didn't pay any tax, right? Which is probably not a good assumption because that tax broken up into several things, right? Which I will venture to explain here. This is at my own peril, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but we're doing it anyway. Would mean that you're making a profit somewhere near $13-14 million a year, right? Let me assume that your business has cost you $1 million a month to run. Between paying mortgages for the buildings that you have staff to pay, you have licenses to pay. A radio station can be a cheap operation, right? It's going to cost you some money every month. I just using $1 million for simplicity's sake, right? That's what it costs you to run this operation. When the state garnish your account, as they say, seize your account and garnish it, right? And they say, all right, here what's going on? You owe me $34 million. We are taking $500,000 a month out of your account, right? When they take that $500,000, you now have to run that same business with $500,000 in month income, right? So what you're going to try to do is to try to adjust your business to suit your newly available income of $5, which is half your money, right? There have some ways you could do this, right? One of the ways is you could get rid of assets. You can't get rid of your debts, right? Whatever you owe in the bank or anybody else you had to pay. You yourself and your directors probably not getting paid for that period at all. I don't want to talk on behalf of them, but directors probably affected by this more than anybody else. And at some point, probably last resort, you could realize that, all right, I have $150,000 left after I make all these adjustments here. I have $150,000 to pay staff, but I only have $200,000 left in the account to pay staff. At that point in time, you have a very hard decision to make as to whether you are going to cut down the size of your staff to suit the $150,000, which means that some people will be going home and left off the job market, or you could come to all the staff and say, listen, if everybody could take a little less, everybody could stay. This is a period that will last because they can't garnish your accounts forever, right? Sure, they had to have a time limit on this, right? I could say that this period here go last a year because my account's going to get garnished for 5 years here, but within this year, I'm going to figure out how to collect from advertisers, expand the business. What I don't want to do is fall back and make less profit and even threaten the longevity of the business as a whole and have to shut down radio stations. Because he could also say, well, here what's going on. 107 point, however they call them, struggling a little bit. What the next station name? Star 94.7. Nobody listens to that. All they go home and we'll just work with 96.1. And rather than have 6 announcers and X amount of DJs, we're going down to 3. Everybody could work at double, or they will get paid full money. So when people, and again, this is me building my case, right? Let me just stop joking. I'm not trying to defend this, right? Well, I'm just trying to explain it. Because I've been around business for a little while and I've seen how things like this could go, and it sounds like huge numbers and it sounds like very unfair. And I see people say, so only we have to pay tax. And I just want to put out there as well that Trinidad and Tobago is a society where do you declare your second income, right? All the gigs you're getting booked for and getting paid in cash, do you go and write on that on the BIR form when month end come? I want to know. That was the wrong thing. That's what I want to do. Do you declare all your, carnival time? It has some people I know, they take up a little gig carnival time, they pull a little rope for them bands, right? They go in and pull a rope, or they walk a little bartending walk, or they stand up in front of the truck and they have a headset on their head directing the truck where they have to go. Do you tell the BIR about that? And I hear people have a tendency here to say, But what the big businesses and pay, I think it's a cultural thing. I think as a whole, as a society, and there's a difference as well. I want to say this too, right? And as not more defense, but more explanation, right? Avoiding taxes is different to owing taxes for a long period of time and getting garnished. That is not tax avoidance, right? I've seen a lot of people throwing that term tax evasion. So first, there's a difference in tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is perfectly legal. Accountants will do it all the time. It's really just to minimize the amount of taxes you pay for a year. So for instance, if I have a business and I make $500 a month, what I could do is, if I have enough expenses in the business to offset the $500, I could declare, rather than declaring a profit of $500 a month, I put $250 expenses, legal expenses, right? Like my travel costs, my rent costs, whatever the things are about the business, legal and legitimate costs. I could put it in place so that instead of reporting a profit of $500 a month, I reporting a profit of $250 and paying 30% of that as corporate tax, right? That's not that's not illegal. That's quite normal in business, right? Tax evasion is another issue. Tax evasion is where I'm making $500 a month, but I report to the BIR that I'm only making $50 a month. That is illegal. That is jail, right? And at least for these figures that we see in here, for these prominent businessmen, that is not tax evasion. They have declared their taxes. So in other words, for the BIR, the Board of Inland Revenue does not know how much money you make, right? It has several different categories that you have to pay to the Board of Inland Revenue. The first one is the obvious, right? Like they have corporate tax, which whatever profit you make is supposed to pay 30% of your profit, right? The Board of Inland Revenue does not know how much profit you make. They depend on you to declare your profits via audited accounts or accounts. I don't even know that need to be audited, but you have to produce accounts every year to say, all right, this is how we operate, this is how much money we make, this is how much money we spend, this is how much profit we have. We make $1 million, look at 300,000, right? So if Chowlinon, for instance, or the other article here is Movie Town owner Chin owes BIR $93 million. It spans over the period of 20 years. Movie Town, located at Invaders Bay, is 21 years old. So from the beginning. Guardian Media understands that some of Movie Town's accounts were garnished by the state. Chin yesterday confirmed the amount owed to the state, and he said the matter was in negotiations. He said a payment plan was in place. It is now understood that the action by the BIR is part of a nationwide drive to recover some $15 billion in taxes owed by several entities. So same situation with him and Chowlinon. For them to know you owing them $93 million or $34 million, you have to be declaring your profit every year and telling them, okay, this is the profit I make. 300,000 is what I'm owing you, but I don't have the 300,000. That's the situation they're in. For whatever reason, I'll give you a few reasons as well, legitimate reasons. You don't have the 300,000 to pay the BIR at the time, right? The other payment you have is something called business levy and green fund. You're supposed to pay, I think both of them is add up to about 3% to 1.5%. All your accountants go correct me on this, right? I believe you have to pay 1.5% to one and 1.5% to the next one. And that is calculated on your revenue, not your profit, right? So whatever money people pay you, about 3% or point something percent. Only go help me, right? Help me in the YouTube comments now. There's a percentage that had to be paid, and that's of revenue. I just want you to understand that if I pay you 3% of my revenue, I would owe you that whether I make a profit or I make a loss. So if I make a loss, I don't have no 30% of corporate tax to pay, right? And I believe that your business levy and green fund is be offset if you make a loss. Am I complicating this too much? It's be offset if you make a loss, right? So whatever you paid in that will go towards your offsetting your losses. And then you have VAT, right? Man, pay your money plus VAT for your movie town ticket. The movie town supposed to take that money that they collect for VAT and pay it over to the BIR. And whatever they pay out for VAT, when they pay different things, they could net them two things off and you have a VAT bill. So you have a amount to pay on your profit annually or quarterly for the more astute business people. Then you have VAT to pay every 2 months. So you collect the VAT and you're supposed to pay back over the VAT to them. And then every employee you have, like all of us would have a deduction from our salary called pay as you earn, right? And whatever deduction is made for from your salary. So let me say your salary is, that's a big salary in this thing. Let me say your salary is 50,000. And you have BIR to pay, let me say 10,000 is your taxable amount. when I send you a pay slip that says 50,000 minus the 10 and you're 40, that 10 we supposed to pay over to the BIR, right? We pay over to the BIR, right? So the issue is that, and that's paid monthly. VAT is every 2 months. Corporate taxes is annually, but usually people will pay it quarterly. I should have called Hinkson before I do this, and green business levy and green fund is annually. You'll probably cater for that quarterly too. But anyway, the point I'm getting at is this: this is not a situation where you have tax evasion. This is because people putting it down as dishonest businessmen. That is not what it is. I'm not passing any judgment to say who honest and who dishonest. I'm just saying that this situation you're seeing here is not dishonest at all. This is people who, over the last 9 years in the case of Chowlin, or 21 years in the case of Movie Town, they're declaring their profits. They're sending it in and they're saying this is how much profit we make. The issue is that there are several reasons, mostly cash flow. You could be one of the first things Charlene says is I have a writing business to advertising agencies, but the ad agency in payment, right? So let me put it like this. Let me assume it was 34 million in tax this year. And they calculate the tax because I make a big sale to the agency for $100 million, right? So when I make that sale, I run these people ads and things. Now them owing me $100 million. When I submit my tax, I had 3% to pay on that $100 million, and the agency ain't pay me yet. I mightn't have that money, right? Again, when the agency ain't pay me and the year done and I had to pay corporation tax, my 100 million minus my, let me say 50 million in expenses, I have $50 million in profit. When I take 30% of that, somebody tell me what that figure is. I owe in the BIR that too, and the agency ain't pay me yet. Remember that within this period of time, you had 12 periods within which I had to pay everybody's salary. Everybody's salary. You cannot not pay salaries. You cannot, and do these two fellas and them, Direction in particular, his Daichin group of companies is labor intense. He has security company there, he has movie town, he has restaurants, heavy people. When month end come, if you don't pay your people, you have a big problem with your hand. So he gonna pay the people, right? You don't want to defer salaries. That almost undeferrable. So when you pay all your salaries and all them deductions you make from all them people, that's the next thing you owe in there and the ad agency and pay your money yet. So again, not joking about the defense part, I just want to explain to people how, I want to say easy and how normal it is for people to get into situations like these. If you're in contact with the Border Inland Revenue, and the Border Inland Revenue could quote a figure at all, it means you're doing legitimate business and you're declaring your taxes on a periodic basis and you're probably up to date with your taxes. For you to be on this BIR list at all, you're up to date with your thing. And I would admit, and I would agree with everybody that the $15 billion figure quoted as outstanding is alarming. And but like personally, it's difficult. And I think one of the more difficult parts of my job is BIR and taxes and so on. It's hard to manage, I'll admit. But what I will say is this. You have several businesses in this country who declaring this thing every week and every month and every 2 months and every however long to come up, because again, the BIR don't know how much money you pay your staff. They don't know how much money you're making on a monthly basis. There's several ways to, and all illegal, to evade taxes by underreporting your income. Do you report all your incomes and pay the taxes on it? I don't know. But underreporting your income and so on would be illegal. Overinflating your expenses would be illegal. All those things would be illegal and you make a jail, right? But I would say that if the $15 billion in taxes by people who declaring the taxes and paying some part of it or making those payment arrangements to pay off the balances, if that figure is 15 billion, I want to only estimate from how much you feel going through the door by people who not declaring anything, not operating in any way, collecting cash, not declaring themselves as official businesses to the BIR or anybody else, not declaring any income or expenses. So in other words, 30% of those earnings over the same 20-something years would be completely outside of the system of tax collection by the Border Inland Revenue. And again, if the people who filing is 15, well, if the figures for people who don't file at all, or who underreporting or overreporting their expenses and so on, I have my suspicions. You know, it's easy to see some businesses and look like they're making small transactions on a daily basis. But I can tell you, when they're making small transactions in those large numbers, and you don't declare nothing at all to the border inland revenue, and then I count how much all you have any country you doing that. My best guess would probably be if we had a $15 billion figure for the legitimate businesses, we probably upwards of $100 billion that getting leaked out by businesses that not declaring anything at all. But the powers that be might be better at helping you with that than me. Should I read more about this? Move it on soon after, right? Soon after, let me give you another reason why you're getting up in this situation. As soon as they say Derek Chin wins some money in taxes, $93 million, the next article, Move It On eyes Jamaica expansion. Because if you want to pay off your debts fast, one of your biggest ways to do that is to expand and get big, build business even bigger to increase your profitability and things so you can pay off them balances fast, which I'll give them the benefit of that they have every intention to pay it off, right? Jamaica is open for business and is welcoming investors from the Caribbean to take advantage of opportunities that are available in the country. This is as talks are ongoing for Movie Town to expand. This is as talks are ongoing for Movie Town to expand its footprint in Jamaica. Movie Town will face stiff competition from entertainment providers in the market such as Carib Theatre in Kingston, Palace Amusement, which operates in Kingston and Montego Bay. During a news conference, the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association travel marketplace in Montego Bay on Tuesday, Jamaica's Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, told Business Guardian that there were conversations in New York last year about this new venture and the ministry will be revisited. It's an exciting project, Part of what we want to see is more Caribbean investment in tourism to ensure that the region benefits more from the proceeds of the industry. The retention of the dollar in the Caribbean must be much stronger, and that can only come from regional investment for tourism, goods, and services. When Business Guardian reached out to Movie Town owner Derek Chin, we have Michael Leachin at Guardian Holdings as partners, but they are still very preliminary. That's what he said. The government of Jamaica has been very receptive, and we're excited about the possibility of becoming a truly regional brand with locations in Trinidad, Guyana, and Jamaica. We would like to become the equivalent of Sandals. Jamaica would love to have a Movie Town. Good move if you ask me, although you mentioned Michael Leachin, and we saw recently where Michael Leachin was unable to pay or settle on a bond recently, which is really not a good sign for the viability of a business either, but our best wishes to all Caribbean business people, including myself. You know what I mean? Best wishes to everybody. Hope everybody could manage their situations with BIR well and come out on the winning side of that. But I did see an article saying economists put BIR putting taxpayers at risk by Shastri Buddha, and I expected to see this. Economist Dr. Valmiki Arjun has warned that the current tax collection drive by the Border Inland Revenue might be putting taxpayers at risk. Arjun, who is the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Shoguana's Chamber of Industry and Commerce, commented on the issue while speaking at the business groups are Indian Arrival Day celebration at the Passage to Asia restaurant in Shoguanas on Saturday. He said once private financial information, including tax information, goes public, it leads to individuals being targeted by criminals. Okay, I didn't think that was the direction he was going to take. I agree that I agree with Arjun. Tax. I mean, the crime is one thing, but these fellas, I mean, you talk about Charlie on a direction. They understand the risk they face where crime is concerned because they are prominent businessmen who people would assume earning billions and billions of dollars anyway. People don't assume that with these tax figures that they have outstanding. By any stretch of the imagination, if you reach the point of owing $34 million to the taxman, your business doing some numbers, but I think it's a bad precedent by the Border Inland Revenue when you put people, in other words, if we had to take these two businessmen at their word, and maybe you might not, but if you had to take them at their word and they're making payment arrangements or they're addressing the situation, I'm not sure that the name and shame approach by a board like the Border Inland Revenue, I'm not sure what it does for the country as a whole, for the ability to collect. It really don't change the price of rice. It just it doesn't threaten them in terms of crime, I would say. It threatens the stability of their businesses because now you have situations which might have been private within the company becoming public. So in other words, if I go in there at my job every day, I could raise questions about, wait now, well, you could pay me my $50,000 when the month end come. I don't know if Ole will be able to pay it at all. You know what I mean? So you might have a sort of a brain drain if you want to put it like that. I don't think that's fair to the company or to the business owners. It also puts them at risk where your outstanding debts are concerned. You see, I learned something in business school, right? You see, when a business closing down, let me ask, I'm not saying this about Movie Tongue or TTRN, but when the impression is out there that a business will fold up, the people who owe them stop paying immediately, because they know you're going to fold up. How long you put up this front for that you want your money from me is a dangerous place to be in. So I just think that the crime is one thing minor, I feel. For these folks, they would be concerned about crime and taking measures to keep themselves and their families safe anyway. But I just feel like it's an unnecessary approach that affects the stability of somebody who owing you. If somebody owing me, I want to make sure and work with them to do everything I could do to collect my money, not necessarily to put them on Front Street and put them in areas where my money could be at risk, right? But I mean, who is me to talk? Let me try to get Sparrow to tell some of this story for me, right?
Why they blaming the doctor so? I would like to know why they blaming the doctor so well. One class of people fussing while the other class cussing, running them out like they take Brooklacks, blaming the doc for the income tax. But I want them all to know you can't get away from the tax. Believe me, you could jump up high or low. You can't get away from the tax. Even if you leave and go, you can't get away from the tax. Yes, sir. To New York or Tokyo, you can't get away from the tax.
Guys, facts.
You better console your mind. You
can't get away from the tax.
Even if the doctor resign,
you can't get away from the tax.
Oh, even quite in Africa,
you can't get away from the tax.
So you see, doctor or no doctor,
you can't get away from the tax.
Believe it or not, that's the best man we've ever got. He is strong and brave. Trinidad he's fighting to save. Well, taxation over here is nothing in comparison to elsewhere. I have traveled far and I see, so shut your mouth and pay the money. It's time everybody should know.
You can't get away from the tax.
Oh, well you could jump high or low.
You can't get away from the tax.
Even if you leave and go,
you can't get away from the tax.
Oh yeah, to New York or Tokyo,
you can't get away from the tax.
Yes sir, you better console your mind.
You can't get away from the tax.
Even if the doctor resigns,
you can't get away from the tax. Come election time, they go try and get away from the tax. One more.
it's a shame, but we how we sell to blame. It's a shame, we how we sell to blame. We ask for new government, now they're taking every cent. Cost of living is the same. It is really a burning shame. The doctor said you pay as you earn, and Sparrow say you pay to learn. But my father say sharp in the axe.
For when the collector passed to chip off the income tax. Plenty people is in misery, but it's tax and bothering me. Well, I am not working anywhere, so I have no income to share. But Mr. This and Mr. That, who are customer the payroll fat, is to see them shedding tears, men like the Freighters and Fernandez.
The doctor say to pay as you earn. Sparrow say you pay to learn.
And my father say, you sharpening the axe, for when the collector pass to cut down income tax. Want to cry, they miss the water, the well run dry. But they can't do a thing about it. The money ain't going in the doctor pocket. First of all, we want better schools, so the children don't grow up as fools. Then work for you and me, that is what plenty of them can see. All they know is the doctor
say to pay as you earn.
And
Sparrow say you pay to learn.
They hear me father say, sharpening the axe, for when the collector pass to chip off the income tax. When the doctor went up to England, they bluntly refused to support this land. So there is nothing more he can do than to get it from me and you. That's the law now in Trinidad. If you don't like it, well, that's too bad. Take your things and get out today, because all who walk in must pay, yes.
The doctor said to pay as you earn.
And
Sparrow say you pay to learn.
Even my father say, selling the axe, for when the collector comes to pay up the income tax.
I really just played that to let you know that none of these situations new, right? Not new under the sun. Commissioner of Police tells the public bad parenting, not cops to blame for crime. She say all of them who you see Christmas go to an interview up soon, is their parents to blame. I feel I agree with Erla, you know. I ain't think I agree with Erla in a long time, but I agree with this. I agree with this statement on a few levels. Number one, the idea of blaming the police for crime is kind of like useless. I know sometimes coming as we worried about the police, as we fed up here from the police, Erla don't inspire much in me, but again, the issue of the police is really crime detection and crime solving and bringing those who commit crimes to be punished, you know what I mean, or to justice. But inevitably, in a situation, especially in a country as small as ours, you have a limit as to how much police you can put on the street, right? To police 1 point something million people. So one of the routes to making sure that crime is not an issue is to have citizens who don't want to commit crime. Like in my area yesterday, I live in a gated place in Chagona, little group chat, somebody go jump in somebody, thief some clothes and thief a bike, you know what I mean? It's just and then you had the community now had to come together to catch this person. I believe they catch him or the police find where the fella living and so on. And again, that's not the kind of crime that people typically afraid of. Like, if a woman in a house by herself, she bound to be frightened when you get that kind of thing. But it's the murder and the violent crime that people most concerned about. But I always believe like the petty thievery and those types of things is just a symptom of the violent crimes to come over the years, because the issues are certain amount of lawlessness. Lawlessness from the standpoint of citizens just doing what they want. Citizens just want to break in place, do this, do that. Whatever they have to do to earn, they do it at the expense of whoever. And on the backside of that, you have you have police who whatever the situation, they have 100 reasons why they would be in this state, but they jaded, they were overwhelmed, or overworked, underpaid, whatever the thing is. There seems to be no urgency by the police to address this crime situation. And outside of some individual police you might meet in a station who treat you well and take your issue seriously, you have too many situations where somebody break in somebody's house and you have a policewoman who's like, hey, well, you know where the station is? You know what I mean? I wonder if she going. She was up Matlock, you know. Well, let me hear what Erla had to say. Police Commissioner Erla Harewood Christopher has complained that the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is facing unfair expectation from a public that demands that it pushes back against criminal elements who should have been better parented. Speaking at the launch of the 2023 National Parenting Program, you know, I vex now. Come on, man, Erla. I thought she make this statement on her own. Like she come on, you know. You make this at the National Parenting Program. Not that the statement any less true, but it's less innovative and unique and thoughtful and insightful than I thought it was. I thought she come out to say this as a response to people who saying what they renew her thing for, you know. You went on the parenting forum and talked about the importance of parenting. They get a speech written for you. All right, let me be done here already. Speaking of the launch of the 2023 edition of the National Parenting Program by the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services at the Belmont Community Center, Gillingham Avenue, Port of Spain, who write a sentence. Here what Christopher said, parenting remains at the root cause of or contributory factor to violence and criminality locally. She said it all starts at home and complained that parents' failings are the main responsibility of law enforcement officials. She said it all starts at home and complained that parents' failings are the main... Oh, when parents fail, again, law enforcement work. Okay, I got you. What we are confronted with is an unrealistic expectation that the police can somehow miraculously transform the propensity, disposition, and the behaviors of people with criminal intent. You know what we're expecting to hear from you earlier. This is, you should have opened with this when they're pointing, you should have opened with this. How practical a proposition is that? Policing is not a substitute to parenting. You should have opened with that. If you had opened with that, people don't forget Gary already. You know. The police as the law enforcement agency has its very definite role of ensuring the laws are enforced and that any infractions are detected and prosecuted. That role in a conscious society will have an effect on deterring and preventing crime, but there's also a very definite and perhaps more important role to be performed by parents and guardians in the nurturing of our young people. And this role requires very deliberate actions. What we used to say earlier is spitting. That was something like that. The police commissioner also noted that intolerance, disrespect, and insubordination are rampant in school, culminating in violence among students towards teachers and security officers and each other too, right, Erla? She said this breakdown also occurs within homes where parents appear to be relinquishing their authority to children. Give she a next term. Give the woman a next term. Harewood Christopher lamented that the community elders are no longer involving themselves in raising children as they sometimes face violent objection from parents. She said adults now avoid reprimanding deviant behavior in even the youngest of children. The bad behavior then escalates into offenses that are punishable by law. So in other words, if too much of them escalates into things that are punished by law, there's no police force in the world or police service in the world who could deal with that. I with you. Step by step, I with you. Whether the offender survives or ends up dead, the whole society then cries out to the police to solve them. But then it's too late. Only remember Kurt Allen saying? Kurt Allen put this thing perfectly, you know. And I will play it. I didn't plan to, but I'm going to play it. Because Kurt Allen put it thing he put it perfectly in a song called First Investigation. And I'm going back to it. Because the police failing, right? We can establish that. I don't want to make it sound like it's the police. The police failing. But the police should be the last people on the list of failures to talk about the parents of the community, of the church, of the sporting groups, all those things failing. All of us collectively we failing. So I gave an example of a bike thief the other day, right? When the bike thief in the community, when it came up in the chat, a few of the fellas in the chat and people in the chat start spreading the word. So everybody now on the lookout for this person. People on the lookout for the person. The security in front, he jump in the car, he started to drive around. Everybody looking now. So a few fellas who on the board went and looked now because they realized like the fella ain't had the bike. The cameras, people started to check cameras. But then an hour of this thing, we don't see the man where he walk, where he pass out, a fellow who was coming home, see the fellow going out, so you have a description. And by the end of the night, the police know where the person living and they know who he is. I can't remember if you find back the bike or what. Point I'm making is this. For crime to be solved at this level, all of us had to be involved. All of us. The police completely overwhelmed, and there's not enough police to do this. So communities had to come together to police themselves. I see by my father and them, for instance, who, again, I was talking about the situation with Joel, right? When they break in by Joel and running the place and just such a violation. But as a community, I know that everybody comes together and they have the little air horn. So if somebody was to run into a place, when you hear one air horn song, the idea is to song all air horns and look out for what is happening and lock down your place. Those things now are deterrents to crime situation that make your community now safer by the fact that it's just harder to access, because they know everybody in that community. So we live in a community here. Thankfully, for some of the people who in law enforcement and know about security and stuff, they imparting their knowledge and changing the way we behave in the community. And one of the main things a partner of mine is telling me all the time is, for the first line of security is we have to know each other. I must know you. I must know your children. I must know your parents. We know each other as a community. So when somebody's strange in a community or moving strange, you stand out. We start to know. We don't need no police to see about that. And as the same for any society that we in. But we reach a stage where I would have born and grow in St. James, and you born and grow wherever you grow, where we don't know. In St. James, we know everybody. And St. James had no loud horn like that. It just had a woman who used to ball hard in the house. Oh God, thief, oh God. It's still like that, but we don't do that again. And when you hear the woman ball, everybody know that Miss Patsy balling. What is happening? Man, everybody come out the house and that thief have a problem. I always tell a story in St. James where I grew up, where a thief a gas tank from opposite by we, running we yard, try to run out the backyard, the back wall, then he jump our back wall, but our back wall is about 4 feet high. He jumped that, but what he know is on the neighbor's side is about 20 feet down. And the gas tank land on the foot, he break his foot, and we come to get police and they meet him right up. The community solved most of its issues. But I would Erla, and that's where we are today. But with Erla in that, when I look at Christmas and what happened with Christmas up there and the people he's talking to and who completely misguided, can't answer a question straight as to why they're in this situation or not. That is from home. From the parents' standpoint, like, okay, so there's a big difference between a little toddler who making people laugh and saying this and that, and you know what I mean, the little funny thing, and learning to walk. There's a huge difference between that and a person walking around with a high-powered rifle. And the difference is not the amount of years it takes to get here. The difference is who is paying attention to them. It's like you want to have a little plant, you know what I mean? I see a meme the other day say, you know you're born and grow in the Caribbean when you used to have to put a little bean in a cup and watch the bean grow and thing. But if you ever do that, you know that when the bean now starts to grow, it's sprouting up nice, just like them little children. All of them nice. When there's little babies, they're nice, bad. Everything you do, they smile and they chunkan. So we love them, right? But then when it started to grow a little taller now, the little branch, it started to bend. It ain't fully formed yet, so it started to bend. But what you do when it started to bend? You take some of a piece of stick and you straighten it and you tie that down and you make sure you grow straight, right? Otherwise it will die. You understand? But somehow we fail to do this with children, you know what I mean? We take the stick away completely. And I'm not saying the stick has to go and beat the children into submission, because that clearly don't work. But the stick is a certain amount of attention, a certain amount of love, a stick-to-itiveness. And the love not in the form of giving them every single thing they want. The love is to tell them, no, you can't do this. Plenty of the love is coming nose, you know. And plenty of the discipline is coming where you can't do. And plenty of the discipline is coming where I make you do consistently. Because if you grow up by me, and I'm not saying my environment is completely different to my son growing up. I don't want to compare them two things, right? Them two things is two whole different worlds. But I come from an environment where this is what was happening. My father come from an environment where that was happening. My mother come from an environment where that was happening. Where the society had plenty of people, or the community had plenty of people who would be picking and choosing the wrong road or choosing which road to go down. And the reality is that the discipline that was there from home put us in a position where I couldn't go down that road. Because that thing I hiding to do with my mother and them is concerned. Barney go find out that I have a cousin. They go tell Carol. Somebody gonna pull you up. The neighborhood had a responsibility to the children in the neighborhood. It's the same in the community I live in here now. I can't compare it to St. Barb's, you know. But what I can tell you is if I see a little child doing something here, I see it here many, many times. I go call him and say, "Oi, don't do that." I say, "What if your father see you doing that? What go happen? You must go and tell your father what he's doing. Stop." Or you pick up the phone and you call your father and say, "My boy, you know, your son here by me, but here what went on." And he go and deal with that, and we deal with that collectively because I don't just do that and let the boy get in trouble. I call Zachary and I talk to him too. I say, "Boy, when you think and do all you try and do good when you live together. Don't go and follow one another and do the bad thing. Always good boys do good things, you know what I mean?" And then I call back the father later and follow up. I say, "Boy, don't kill him, you know. His little boy's growing up, but I just want to make sure." And then when all of we see each other again, everybody good, uncle, you're good, everything, and we play football together. And all that is part of where the community is. And again, the discipline is not just the rod. The discipline is also that as a community, we come together. We have a little thing for the parents. We have a little thing with the children. You know what I mean? If I have food, everybody come and eat. If we have a little football, all them children coming out and learn to play. A little boy father here, he coaching all the little boys in the morning for free to try to play football as a little unit. You know what I mean? He building a club in the community. All these little things, or like me, so who can't do one damn thing. Every time Zachary bike tire bust or his chain come off, my hand is not too dirty, you know. I say, "Go and check Uncle Jade." You think pump? Go and check Uncle Chris. So the community have a vibe, and I'm not saying nothing can go wrong. I'm just saying that the level of parents, and I see it among men and women who is my age, 30 something, 40 something maybe. You know what I mean? It's a different world. So I would be shocked if any one of the little children here go down a road where 20 years from now or 10 years from now, which ain't far at all, they sit down on some YouTube video with some foreigner telling them about how thing and they had the AK them out, and if 6 come on this side and if 7 come back. So craziness. And most of the people, again, I agree with you, my community is not the same as a Bella Road. But I can tell you that most of the people in my community come from communities like Bella Road and we come from Mova and Laventille and St. James and Enterprise, and it's the same thing. It's one generation removed from them same communities that we're talking about. So I agree with Erla 1,000%. I wish she didn't say it in something about parenting, but maybe it's the best forum. Maybe I had to eat back words. Maybe it's the best forum to tell her. She said, children are learning from what you do. What you do and how you do it makes a difference. Teach your children respect. I find like these children are the kind of respect. You see it a lot. And I don't want to be one of these old people complaining about children. I think children are the answers to all problems. But some of them, the basic respect and basic manners and things I assume. Teach them to have a right sense of values. Be involved. We need adults to be involved in the child's life. We live in a world where too much children have the choice of how they're going to be raised and too much a choice as to how they will live because they, what do they call them, latchkey children? They're going home to a household where daddy absent, mommy working, everybody else working. The kind of work that mommy and daddy doing don't give them the time to come and spend with them. Mommy and daddy themselves was plants who didn't get straight when they were small, so them ain't know what to say. They're cussing in front of the child. It's different, you know. It's a different world. And then there's this huge surprise when a couple generations go through the same thing and the household fall down. And then we start to blame the church or the school. At a point in time, they was blaming the school teachers. Now it reached the police. I want to tell you that after the police, who we go blame? Like the army? Like the government? We run out of people to blame for the problems in our households. You know, we have an aggregate household problem in this country that we're looking for more people to blame for. She said it frequently means sacrificing what you do for the sake and welfare of your child. When parents become absentee or neglect their children, they create a vacancy for somebody else to fill, and too often is filled by people of ill repute with the wrong influence. She said gang leaders becoming surrogate dads because the most common answer that them fellas get Christmas was that they'd kill the boss, they kill the big man, they kill Cocky. Imagine my time following a man named Cocky, pause. But the boy get killed Cocky and so them men, that's like you kill your father. And what them doing is they kill your father, so you spend a lifetime looking for vengeance for your father. It's so sad. I hear a man in the area of the one fella in Belmont, an older gentleman too. I think he was getting car fixed or doing a little mechanic work or something. I see a bonnet open behind him. And he say, Boy, no, I had no problem coming on thing because on camera, no, because a lot of people didn't want to come on camera. He say I could come on camera. I comfortable. He say because I not involved in that life and Belmont is a beautiful place. He talk about the pan, the savannah right there. He started to talk about you know what I mean the real Belmont. And he himself had to say, well, nah, I ain't passing no border neither. You know, we go on the community here in war, we in war too. And I don't want to knock him. I understand his statement, but what I mean is that the first time that happened, when the community still had plenty more good people than bad people, the good people had to stand up, the good people had to come up and say, nah, you want me to tell me, imagine I grew up in St. James and you telling me, I can't, I born on Grandison Street, I can't go wrong Motura Street, or I can't go up Hyderabad. I can't imagine it. And again, I'm too far removed from it to even think about it. But I'm happy that the Commissioner of Police was able to come out and say this. I hope that people read this article again. Is in the Guardian. You know, my reading don't do thing too much justice, but it's in the Guardian and it's by Darius Polo, and is a important statement for all of us to latch on to and follow and understand, because the reality is that until that parenting change, and I mean, if I was to judge by my community, I think it's changing. I don't know if this community is a representative of the overall society. Probably not. But until that change, we have a lot more of these woes with these same types of problems that recurring and moving from area to area. I mean, I didn't even know it at 8 and 9. I thought it was just 6 and 7. So by the time we turn this around, we have up to about 15, 16 water gangs. And it's a sad situation. So thing to pay attention to. But Erla, you're back in my good books. I like you a lot. My new favorite police commissioner for the hour. Let me get into some culture now. Let me get into some culture now. All you will tell me if 2 episodes make any sense, right? Because the issue I always have when I miss a week is that I end up with too much thing to talk about. And I try my best not to cross 2 hours in an episode. So I'll wait for your guidance on that, right? Let me just talk about some culture before we wrap this up. I saw an article from Melissa Maynard saying, call for structure to harness Trinidad and Tobago's carnival's potential. For Trinidad and Tobago to generate foreign exchange from carnival, it must be structured, and more importantly, it must be measured. This song's familiar. There's nothing we talk about all the time. That was the view amongst professionals during the UWI recently held National Conversation Series hosted by the Trade and Economic Unit titled Forex Earning Potential of Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. Many countries around the world are now measuring the economic impact of their festivals. What do you mean no? Why do they say no? Many countries of the world are now measuring the economic impact of their festivals. Trinidad and Tobago has not been doing so, and that is a glaring error of omission from a policy standpoint. And I think we really need to rectify that in a significant way. We've never done a proper economic impact assessment taking into account all of the flows associated with Carnival, said Dr. Keith Nurse, president of the College of COSTAT, right? Nurse was part of a panel discussion hosted by former UWI principal Bo Tiwari, Dr. Bohendra Tiwari, right? That also included coach mental therapist Denise Deming and Professor Emeritus Patrick Watson, Professor of Economics at the UWI. A few of these people was my lecturers. Noting the unique nature of Trinidad and Tobago's carnival in comparison to other carnivals around the world, Nurse said 3 key art forms shape Trinidad and Tobago's carnival: calypso, mass, and pan. Even more so, it is bigger than the art form, as it is also a festival of art, capturing the data. Drawing from his research, Nurse said, the issue of data capture is very weak. We don't consider things like the creativity industry to be an important element of our economies, and maybe it has to do with the fact that we don't think these things really matter. I think it has to do with the genesis of where it come from. I think with the genesis of where it come from, it's still seen as people playing the fool and half naked in the road and them kind of thing. It's not seen as an industry. Quoted here saying, but in Trinidad and Tobago's context and in terms of festival economics, I would argue that there are 4 areas that need to be capturing data to understand the economic impact of foreign exchange and the foreign exchange impact, The first is festival tourism, and I call it culture and festival tourism. Accommodation, travel, hospitality, and those subsectors are really important to capture. For example, what is the occupancy rate for Carnival? Well, for Trinidad and Tobago Carnival, we know most of the established guest houses and villas and now Airbnb, we have an average accommodation rate or occupancy in excess of 90%. Similarly, we know that the earnings in terms of visitor arrival during peak periods is highest rates of arrivals in Trinidad and Tobago, and the data we capture are generally in a 3-week period. Yeah, it needs to be longer than that. So Deming said she views Carnival as a product and an experience. However, the absence of structure means the product is weak. The Carnival product is an amazing product and it is one that is promoted and carried by our citizens. That product is a product that has to be sold in a way that other people would want to. Listen, I can't read no more of this because it's be hard to read things like this for me, right? Because every time, and no knock on the people who are talking about this, they're absolutely right and they're on point in everything they're saying. The difficulty with me reading these things is we still talking about Carnival like if it's something we now invent. I used to teach a course called New Product Management, and every time I read stories about the viability of Carnival industry and all those things, it's sung like if we're talking about a brand new product what we planning to launch. This songing like something what we planning to launch in 2025, and we're trying to talk about the structure. You don't have to go through all this, you know. I tell students recently, I had a course in digital marketing a couple of weeks ago, right? Master's level. These students bright, they know their stuff, they well. It was a nice group of students in terms of their diversity of their backgrounds, all different kind of industries. They're good talkative too. Is on Zoom, so it's always hard sometimes when you had to get class feedback and participation. But that class was real good. One of the things that I find was impressive about that group is how up to date they were on things. We were talking about ChatGPT as an example, right? Well, of course, in an academic paper, you can't just go and put the question in ChatGPT and submit that, because then you get that's plagiarism and you get thrown to the university, right? But all of them talk about how they use ChatGPT. So they would go in ChatGPT and it would give them a draft, then it will guide their research. So what ChatGPT does is for me, is save time, because if, for instance, I had to come up with a proposal, or if let's use lecturing as an example, I need to do a PowerPoint presentation on the marketing mix. I go in ChatGPT and say, yeah, what I need to do a PowerPoint presentation, MBA level marketing mix. I need to talk for 4 hours, and I usually talk for 5 minutes a slide. I need X amount of slides to cover the whole marketing mix. That couldn't give me exactly what I asked for, you know, to put on a PowerPoint. From my experience and background and all that, I could then take that and tweak it to suit, okay, this class, the level we had, the discussions we have, the kind of people who are in the class, the points that I want to make, because that's more important for their submissions and their exams and anything else. So it saved me the time, because I could come up with the same thing ChatGPT would have come up with based on my educational experience, but it just take me more time. So I was using like a personal assistant then. Point I'm making is this. We here trying to reinvent the wheel and have discussions at high levels and platitudes in UE, who would probably be the best institution to undertake this kind of research, and still trying to like figure out how to do it. Number one, just go in ChatGPT and try to figure out what's the best way to do this. It is too simple to figure out these things. And even if that and all could be a waste of time, they have Brazil who have big festivals. They have a place called FIFA is put on a big festival every 4 years, go a sporting festival, right? They have an Olympic committee. These frameworks and structures for measuring the viability or the forex or the impact of a festival, or those things exist. Like, why not just get consultants who've been doing this in bigger countries in other places for many, many years? Pay the people consultancy fee. You get talk to Charlene on them. If you collect that 120 something million, you might be able to pay the consultant. Pay the consultant. Let them come and help us implement it and put it in a place like UE or UTT or COSTAT, where you have research centers and highly educated people like Watson and Deming and all these folks who top class. And just get the research done in a structured way every year. So, for instance, we have both UE and UTT being your two bigger institutions in the country. Both of them are programs on carnival arts and culture and festival arts and musicology. All of them have that. Them fellas and them had that already. So all these, every year you're pushing out students at master's, bachelor's and PhD level who have research to do. When you finish with the consultant and you get the framework for this, these same students could contribute to this over time and make it more specific to our culture as Trinidad and Tobago, because the consultant might set it up nice for we, but part of what we also have to measure is how does our culture and our festival, that is a roving festival, how that bringing in money for Jamaica, How they're bringing in money for Berlin and Hollywood and Miami and Toronto and New York. How, you know what I'm saying? So that we have some data that can help us make decisions. So when we approach the people who run in Hyatt and we say, this is where our room occupancy is. This is what we do to attract these people. This is why we need an ex-Hyatt. Somebody could just go to you, we pick up that document and go and present it to whoever we have to present it to. Or this is how we will charge Jamaica for having a carnival, because we have a franchise now. And if you want to buy into our carnival, you pay us the same way Prestige Holding pays KFC. You pay us a royalty on every costume that you sell. But we don't. We keep going back to these high-level discussions, which typically exclude the people on the ground, like the businesses that run in the carnival and the people who most are involved in the carnival on the ground level. To try to, I will stop here. But I guarantee you that I will come back to this when they have another article that's saying these I keeping this date, you know. This is episode 183. You listen to this on the 28th of May and thereabout, right? NMA, May month 10. And I'm going to come back when they do another round table, a forum, or under the trees. They're going to talk about these same exact things again. And the currency here is coming talking about it and not doing anything about it. And there's a hell of a oxymoronic statement to make when you're doing a podcast every week. I would like to play for you, as promised. Kurt Allen, going back to my girl Erla, right? I want to talk about Kurt Allen. Last Badge on a Calypso might be the first. And he talking about the first investigation. Listen, Kaiso.
Action News reporting.
There's a hole in the country. There come la. It's you spoil the child, there come la. It's you spoil the child, there come la. You spoil it.
Well, fix it, Gary Rowley. Fix it.
I just feel sorry, so don't get me wrong. For anybody I hear get gunned down, innocent victims, criminals or not, each and every gunshot rattle the same spot. But when I hear some families expressing grief, the attitude does have me in disbelief. Criminals that thief, rape people and kill, the families demanded investigation still. But when as a youth they staying out late, that is the time to investigate. Long before they start jumping people gate, that is the
Time to investigate.
when your children passing the elders straight,
That is the time to investigate.
when bad company start to infiltrate, that is the time to investigate. You can't wait till they in the forensic center to abuse the police and try them for murder. What your children have, blood stain on their hands. Too late to launch
investigation.
Parents, stop cussing the policeman. You have to launch the first.
investigation.
Now the real state of emergency.
There come love.
It's too much parents failing in their duty.
It's too much of crime.
Joint patrol with the police and army.
They're only
Can't replace parental responsibility. They're only fixing. 15-year-old boy, his life gone to waste. Killed by police on a high-speed chase. Police report say they just robbed a bar. Officers attempted to intercept the car. The fellas jump out with guns blazing in their hand. Start to rain bullets at the policeman. Police return fire in similar style. Parents want investigation. Why? He was just a child. Still in school, they put in food on your plate.
That is the time to investigate.
When they work's nowhere, but they're sleeping late.
That is the time to investigate.
Pants falling off their waist like they're losing weight.
That is the time to investigate.
On the block all day, holding their prostate. That is the
time to to investigate.
You can't wait till they're in the forensic center to block the road and catch all tires on fire. Talking human rights and making demands. Too late.
So launch investigation.
Teachers, elders, evil guardians, you have to launch
The
the
first investigation.
The family must be the main focus.
They come love. They come love.
The court and the politicians can't save us.
It's too much of crime.
To arrest the crime, keep it under control.
They're only.
Crime fighting must start in every making household.
They're only vexed.
I wanna fly. "16-year-old girl shot in her belly, pregnant. Sadly, she lost her baby. I investigate. When the facts unfold, already the mother of a 2-year-old. That means at age 14, this child made a child either raped or touched by a pedophile. As far as I know and I understand, nobody never called for no investigation. 13-year-old daughter going out on date.
That is the time to investigate.
To a no prospect who walking them out the gate.
That is the time to investigate.
3 o'clock morning call, a sleeping over by kid.
That is the time to investigate.
3 months later vomiting and putting on weight.
That is the time to investigate.
You can't wait until things get critical. Murdered or lying down in hospital. 3 children with 5 different gunmen.
Too late to launch investigation.
Don't do like Marcy and check the Obia man. You have to launch
The first investigation.
Check the examples from our leaders.
They come love. They come
Teaching
love.
we youngsters how to act like youngsters.
It's too much of crime.
6 versus 7. Now everyone know.
They're only. They're
In
only.
Parliament is red. That versus yellow.
They're only. Vexed.
I wanna fly. Low. All parents. All parents, listen.
You want to sing.
Observe your children, check their mental state. That is the
Time to investigate.
don't wait until conditions deteriorate.
That is the time to investigate.
Quality time to spend with them, we have to dedicate.
That is the time to investigate.
Or the school teacher going to face disrespect and hate.
That is the time to investigate.
Now and again, take a look in the closet. Check the bag and pocket for condom and bullet. Once they start joyriding in that prison van.
Too late to launch investigation.
Parents, don't wait on legislation. You have to launch
The first investigation.
so much billions to boost security.
They come love. They come
What
love.
about billions to boost the family?
It's too much of crime.
We have to reset, change the policy.
They're only. They're
You know,
only.
is the whole society guilty?
They're only. Vexed.
I wanna fly. Sandra.
Hey, it's a short week, you know. The most productive country in the world is a short week, right? So happy Corpus Christi to all who celebrating Corpus Christi. Happy Indian Arrival Day to all who celebrating that. And I know that means all of we. So only in a short week, have a productive short week, have a good short week, have an enjoyable short week. And only be safe on the weekend. Only see what happens on the long weekend in Trinidad now. So be safe. Whether you're out and about, you're home relaxing, you're taking a beach day, you'll be enjoy the little long weekend. I will talk to you next week. Bye.